Good morning, and we'll call to order the meeting of the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada. Ms. Quigley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Your first item is to conduct your first citizens' participation period.
It's the first time set aside for public comment. Those wishing to speak on a posted agenda item, now is your opportunity.
Good morning, Commissioners. Francis Julian for the record, GM for Achilles Transit America. I would like to thank the board, Tina Quigley, MJ Maynard, and her team for the industry review on the RFP for the paratransit contract. So thank you very much for your forward thinking, and looking forward to working on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alita Dupree on item number 40.
Chair Brown, members, thank you. Alita Dupree for the record. Yes, in this segment I am speaking specifically on item 40, which is about consulting for transport electrification. This is very, very important work. I thank you for listening. There is a move in California and other states in this direction. And I do believe that day is going to come sooner rather than later when we will have to move into the realm of operating electric transportation vehicles in our generally 40 and 60 foot length, of which there are products that are available off the shelf today. It's my hope that you will use this contract to its maximum extent. Take heed of the knowledge and wisdom, for I am just a lay person in the world of electric vehicles. I believe that these will work in the hot weather. We can look to Antelope Valley Transportation Authority for experience in operating. I believe they have about 35 of these electric vehicles operating in the high deserts north of Los Angeles. So it's good that we have this on consent. Let's pass this item and get to work. And we can build something special, I believe, ideally for the Strip. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Lorenzo Reed.
Good morning, Commissioner Brown and his humble members of your staff, to Mr. Barone, who I love dearly, you know. So my name is Lorenzo Reed, and I'm the founder and president of Rosie's Wish Community Development Corporation. We opened our doors in 2012. We provide therapeutic services to more than 130 kids who are diabetic, obese, and severely emotion disturbed. These kids are between the ages of 3 and 18. If you're wondering who Rosie's Wish is, Rosie was my mom. She died from complications in '03 from diabetes. Diabetes is a passion of mine and is a fight that I fight with every day. We provide specialized treatment in which we provide positive behavior training by working on remedial skills such as basic living skills, social skills, communication skills, parenting training, organizational skills, and academic achievement to over 200 kids in this community. We pick these clients up and transport them to our facilities for after-school activities. About 90% of these kids will attend all of their endocrinologist appointments with them to make sure the doctors understand the fight that these kids are going through with the fight with diabetes. One of my favorite success stories is we had a kid in our program. This kid fought his tail off to beat diabetes. We was able to get him the first Bluetooth insulin pump in Las Vegas. This kid is now on the staff for Canyon Springs High School and just recently won the Pop Warner Championship in Pop Warner football. So thanks to your generous donations from RTC and the board members here, the vehicles that you provided for us have not only helped us get these kids back and forth to their therapeutic appointments, their mental health appointments, their endocrinologist appointments, the countless hours that we have to transport these kids, you guys make it possible. As adults, we don't praise each other enough. So I'm here to thank you guys for all the work that you guys do for the city of Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, these youth, and everyone in this community that's fighting diabetes. So today, I'm here to present this plaque to you guys. So this plaque presented to express my deepest appreciation for all the hard work and dedication you give to Rosie's Wish Community Development Corporation and the communities and youth of the city of Las Vegas and North Las Vegas. Rosie's Wish CDC would like to thank you for always being there, giving us more than we can ever ask for. So I appreciate everything that you guys do. I know you guys have a lot of work to do every day, and you don't get to hear it, but I, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate everything you do. And I'd like to thank you guys.
Thank you. Okay, item number 47, RFP for paratransit. Two speakers, WC PIHL. Peel? Peel? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is WC Peel with TransDev. I'm our Senior Vice President of Business Development. I just wanted to comment really quickly. In my business development career, I've looked at thousands of requests for proposals, and I wanted to say that what MJ and Dan and the RTC staff have done here is quite unique, and I think that it serves with what the RTC of Southern Nevada does that's innovative. You kind of are on the leading edge of innovation, and what you've done with this request for proposals is get a lot of industry feedback to look at the new ways that mobility is going to change down here. So we just wanted to say we were really happy to be part of this process. I think that you've put together a request for proposals that will help RTC move into the next evolution of what mobility will look like, and we're just appreciative to be involved in the entire process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Peel. And thank you for the interaction. Katrina?
Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity. I just wanted to express sincerely the opportunity to serve in this community for years and years as TransDev. I serve as the regional vice president. And again, I work with many clients throughout the United States with our company, and bar none, there are none that are so committed to the cause and who frankly stretch me personally to always learn to do more and to do a better job to serve your community. So TransDev really, really appreciates the opportunity to continue to serve the paratransit clients here and hope to do more in the future. Thank you, Tina and MJ and the board.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board on a posted agenda item?
Good morning. I'm Don Johnson. I'm the general manager for MV Transportation. We're the current operator of the North Residential Lot. We absolutely support the peer review that was done just recently on the paratransit service. We look forward to continuing being active in the operations and having an opportunity to look at submitting a proposal with it. I also would like to thank MJ and Tina for extending our options, and we look forward to continuing our fixed route operations for you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing and hearing no one, close this portion of public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next is to approve the agenda. We would like to pull item number 35 off of consent and have some discussion in non-consent. Other than that, the agenda is ready for your approval.
Motion to approve the consent agenda with change.
Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next up is your general manager's report. We just have one item today. Our first item is an operator recognition from our contractor, MV. We'd like to recognize Miss Tamika Logan. Do we have Tamika in the audience with us? So Ms. Logan plays a pivotal role in strengthening customer relations by treating each passenger like family. Many have said she's the reason for their best public transportation experience. That's nice. Ms. Logan has also become a strong mentor to her coworkers. She's known to give her time happily and to help lead those who are struggling. So thank you, Ms. Logan, for your service.
You're not done yet. Thank you. What am I next? All I gotta say is okay. So let me just say thank you, first of all, to all of y'all, because this is a great moment for me. I have climbed the ladder that, man, and be appreciated for is a great thing. I love my job. I love my job because people make it worth it. I have a passion for helping everybody. And when you get that appreciation, like, thank you, driver, you did a great job, it makes it all worth it. I've been out here almost 4 years, and it ain't been easy, but this right here makes it all worth it. So thank you again, everybody. Bruce, Don, Peggy, Carolyn, Renee, all of y'all at NV. I love my new family. That is another family. And I will continue to grow as long as y'all let me, okay? Thank you. So, okay.
Baby girl. He's cute. I love it. You can go ahead and be seated. All right. As you take your seats, I'll let Tracy sit down because next is your item number 4 is to receive the Nevada Department of Transportation Director's Report. And today we have Deputy Director Tracy Larkin.
Thank you and good morning. So today I want to start off with, we have new slides. I'm really proud of those. So we have color this time. So moving in, we are basically restating that safety is our #1 priority, and we're already seeing some both positive and negative trends for the year so far. While we are down 62% in unrestrained occupant fatalities, we are up 40% in pedestrian fatalities. And that 40% is representative of just Washoe and Clark County on there. So it's very disturbing, but that's something we have to continue to keep working on. This slide really excites me because it's not something I get to show that often in Las Vegas. We do have snowplow drivers in Las Vegas, and you can see the front of one there. Last month, on the 21st and 22nd of February, most of you, I'm sure, were very aware that I-11 was closed, I-15 was closed, and US 95 at Searchlight was closed due to snow. A lot of this was due to actually snow on the other side, Arizona and California, because they had received so much they could no longer handle traffic coming through. During that time, though, we did respond to 213 crashes and 84 motorist assist, which so maybe we need to learn how to drive in snow down here. Just saying. But I never thought that I would honestly say that I cleared 3 inches of snow off my personal vehicle one morning in Las Vegas and realized I did not have any snow equipment down here. Next, we did our congressional briefings each year in about March. All the states go back to Washington, D.C. to talk to our delegations about certain items that affect all of us. And a couple of those, just want to let you know, is repealing, it's a 2020 proposed rescission that was enacted in the FAST Act and is still on the books. It has the potential of impacting our federal funding next year by reducing it between $55 and $70 million. That's a significant hit. Also in there, flexibility in freight and safety funding. One of the safety funding issues is that in the FAST Act, it also took away our ability to use federal funding for safety education. Now, safety has basically 3 E's: enforcement, engineering, and education, and not being able to use for behavioral things, click it or ticket, don't text, those type of things. It's a very strong leg to helping with different safety safety issues. And then the rest of it is kind of very typical. We're always asking, and have been since I've been going there, and before that, long-term, fully funded multimodal surface transportation bill, and we'll continue on that. But I really did want to bring those first 2 issues particularly here, as I know that RTC and others will be going back to Washington soon. We're legislative, as with all of the entities, we have gone before the legislature, giving our NDOT 101, and also we have AB 7, which is just it's more of a policy cleanup for NDOT. It's just strictly for an NDOT internal. But AB 22 will be heard on March 21st, and that one is a retention of 5% on construction jobs. There will be a friendly amendment put in on that to reduce it down to 2.5%. We don't expect any opposition. And then we brought this up last time, but Project Neon is 94% complete. I'm sure any of you driving here will be glad to hear that. And the grand opening, it will be on the evening of May 16th, so please mark it on your calendar. And then I'll just wrap it up that we, for the past 10 years, we have a Nevada Move Days, and it is basically teaching school children the value of walking back and forth, walking and biking to school. And on March 20th, there will be events all throughout the area, and we invite any of you to join in those. There are several in Clark County. And if you're interested, I will hook you up with the right person to tell you where they are. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Tracy. Any comments or questions? Very good.
Next on your agenda is your consent agenda, which is made up of items 5 through 45. We did have a motion to pull item number 35, but other than that, the consent agenda may be taken in one motion.
Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 35 is to approve amendment number 3 to contract number 12-081-B, operation and maintenance of fixed route services, Lot B, between the RTC and Keolis Transit Services, LLC, in order to add the microtransit pilot program scope of services to the contract, add a not-to-exceed amount of $3,674,800 in funding to perform the additional service for an initial period of 12 months, with the 3 one-year options to extend the program, and authorize the chairman to sign. And MJ Maynard will address some of the content.
Thanks, Tina. So the plan is to implement a microtransit service in and around the resort corridor. The plan is to go as far south as the M Resort and as far north as the Ma Museum. We do professional surveys, official surveys, twice a year. We talk to our tourists, and we also talk to our locals. And we've heard for the last couple of years that our tourists would be interested in utilizing an RTC on-demand service. So we're going to test this customer preference. This is strictly a pilot. It's 2 6-month periods. So after the first 6 months, we'll come back, report to the board, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We've been working closely with the airport. They are allowing us to utilize one bay at the 0 level, which is across from the 2 bays we currently utilize our fixed route service. We are also working with LVCVA. We will, wherever they direct us to pick up and drop off is where we will pick up and drop off the customers. And then we'll be utilizing RTC stops only. In some cases, that will be paratransit stops. And we're going to do a soft launch in April and May before we go live June 1st.
I'll follow up on it. So certainly we all know that we've reported to you regularly that the transit industry is going through a phase of disruption. Ridership is down, revenues are down nationally and locally, where the industry as a whole is recognizing we've gotten to a point where we're at a point of disrupt or be disrupted. Either you continue to evolve and change and provide services using the technology available to you to deliver services your clients and customers need or want, or you risk becoming completely irrelevant and really relegated to purely a social service. So the industry as a whole, we've been a little bit late, but we certainly learned from taxi cab industry that you don't want to wait, you want to engage, and you want to try and stay ahead and apprised and relevant. And so through these very small tests and pilot programs, we get the ability to see what works and what doesn't work. So I know that at a national level, there are other small micro transit on-demand type systems being tested. And the FTA is certainly very interested in seeing how our service works out. We will be reporting back to them as well as to the rest of the industry how well the community and riders adopt this. I truly believe we will get to a point where the concept of fixed route transit will be a relic, especially in certain corridors, where the bus is stopping every quarter of a mile, regardless of whether or not there is a passenger there who truly wants or needs that stop. That we will evolve using technology to become a more agile service that is a service that our customers not only have to use, but choose to use. And in doing so, we'll also be able to get into other parts of the community where we traditionally have not been able to do so because it is so expensive to develop a pure fixed route system. So this is a small pilot program. I commend MJ, I know she worked really hard on this, to test, deploy, to see how does this work and does it work? So.
Commissioner.
Thank you. And I applaud our interest in and the effort that has been undertaken to get us in a position where we can further take advantage of whatever the technology is. And I agree that we can't stay the same while the whole world around us is changing, or we won't be there. The thing that I was concerned about is that I just wanted some clarity on the oral record today.
Sure.
In terms of where the operations would be conducted. So they'll be at the current RTC stops,
Correct.
which do include some paratransit sites
Correct.
that are on private property, and the LVCVA will direct us. So we
direct
can't
us
say
to-
right now where they want us to be. It's all about where the convention needs will require
Correct.
service.
Correct.
And then at the airport, the 0 level only.
Correct.
That is correct.
Thank you. That's what I was concerned about.
And I know that there's been some concern of how will you enforce and make sure that the drivers of this flexible system truly only use RTC bus stops. And I've having conversations with MJ and with Greg, but through the data collection, we'll be able to we'll know exactly what latitude and longitude the trip was originated and exactly where it stopped. So through some data analytics, we'll be able to enforce that. But I'll be working with MJ and legal and our contractor to make sure that those checks and balances are in place. That enforcement effort is in place.
Mayor March?
I appreciate the commissioner pulling this item. I think it's good that we have this discussion. And as you know, I'm a strong proponent of the quote, without facts and data, you're just another person with an opinion. So it's really important that we gather this information and understand what's going on. And I think it might be wise for us to also, during the process, to engage the taxi cab community, because it's probably time for them to be looking at some
Sure.
changes in their model as well. And so we can certainly share what we're learning as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jim?
Sure.
Jim?
Councilman.
Yeah, MJ, by the way, it's good to see you. Just, there's one question that it didn't occur to me until just a minute ago, talking about flexibility, being nimble. I like using that word, and we really do need to change. By the way, again, already this month, I've already implemented like several new teaching strategies there in my classroom, only because you have to be with, you have to get with, with the Gen Zers, or else, you lose them. But speaking of generation, what the millennials and Gen Zers, so this microservice, is it also going to include software, specific software upgrades and links to link, I guess, people's portable electronic devices with our services?
The, excuse me, the microtransit pilot will have its own app that's also connected to the RTC app. But if you wanted to ride the service, you could go to the Apple Store, the Android platform, and download that app. But otherwise, and it's also connected to our RTC Ride app.
Fantastic, yeah, because I'm sure that, you know, again, Gen Zers, well, actually, the millennials, I'm sure they'd love to be able to see how long it'll be before the ride gets there, just to go ahead and be competitive across different platforms that we know that are out there. Thank you very much, very well thought out.
This was taken off consent. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak to this that did not have the opportunity earlier? Okay. All right, then we'll entertain a motion. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 46, and MJ Maynard will introduce that item. Or introduce Sydney to introduce that item.
Yeah, Tina, yeah, it's Senior Director Sydney Kamari will take this one.
Thank you. Thank you, MJ. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. This item is to evaluate the performance of the general manager for the period of January 1st through December 31st of 2018. Formulate recommendations on management goals and objectives for 2019, as well as adjust compensation or take action as deemed appropriate. On November 8th of 2018, the RTC Board of Commissioners appointed Chairman Larry Brown, Mayor Deborah March, and Mayor Pro Tem Lois Tarkanian to serve on the Evaluation Committee to review the performance of the General Manager. On January 29th, 2019, the Evaluation Committee met to evaluate the 2018 performance of the General Manager and provided guidance for the next evaluation period. Recommendations may be presented at today's board meeting by the committee. Mr. Chairman, this item is now turned over to you.
Thank you. Mayor March?
Yes. The Evaluation Committee discussed the performance of Ms. Quigley for 2018 and made recommendations to increase the general manager's continuing education and leadership training account by $10,500 for a total of $15,500 for the fiscal year. The change in title will also be in order, changing it from the RTC General Manager to the Chief Executive Officer, and the current compensation level will remain unchanged, and any other benefits as set in the RTC General Manager's contract will also remain the same. And that's my recommendation, and that's in the form of a motion.
Comments or questions? Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next is item number 47, and that will be handled by Deputy General Manager MJ Maynard.
Thanks, Tina. Good morning, I should say, members of the board. I'm here today to provide you with a report regarding the procurement considerations for solicitation of the ADA paratransit service contract. This presentation will provide an overview of the structure of the procurement, including the proposed contract term and evaluation criteria. Before creating the scope of work for this RFP, we worked with an outside firm, Nelson Nygaard, to conduct a peer review of other transit agencies that contract their ADA paratransit operations. We wanted to understand the procurement considerations from the most recently issued paratransit RFPs. Nelson Nygaard surveyed 10 transit agencies, including those in Atlanta, Boston, Denver, Jacksonville, Orange County, Phoenix, Portland, San Antonio, Seattle, and Tucson. Additionally, we shared our draft RFP with private sector transportation companies to allow them to weigh in on our scope of work. The purpose of the industry review is an effort to issue the best possible RFP and obtain industry feedback. 9 transportation companies participated in the process and subsequently submitted 123 questions, recommendations, and/or general statements. RTC staff found many of these questions and recommendations very valuable, notably general statements regarding that the proposed liquidated damages seemed excessive and would be wrapped up in the overall contract price if they were included. As a result, we made modifications that limited the financial risk for the private sector while still maintaining required service performance standards. Recommendations were also made regarding the requirement to have all 6 key personnel in place at the commencement of the contract. We agree, and now we'll ask that only the proposed general manager, director of maintenance operations, and the director of fleet maintenance be named as the opening team. We also received several statements requesting that the RTC allow alternate proposals that offer additional innovative and/or cost-saving ideas. And as you'll see later in this presentation, we've done just that. And finally, we received numerous requests for supplemental data to assist with the proposer's costing model, and as such, provided as much detailed data as possible to assist our private sector partners in crafting the most effective and efficient proposal. Okay, thanks. The success of the 2-step evaluation process previously used on both RTC's fixed route and paratransit procurements have proven to be very effective. Staff proposes utilizing the same methodology. Step 1 evaluates the proposers on technical qualifications only, and then advance only the most qualified proposers to the 2nd step of the evaluation process. The following slides look at the Step 1 models the proposing vendors could consider when responding to this RFP. It's important to note that each company has a choice to submit a proposal for all models or only respond to the model in which they believe they could be the most effective provider. Model 1 in our scope of service include ADA paratransit service, senior transportation services, and non-dedicated services, which allows the contractor to use a small fleet of vans that the RTC will provide, to either operate or subcontract, which could add relief to peak period congestion and provide the contractor with another mobility option to address operational issues and inefficiencies. Model 2 in our scope of service include all of the service I just described in Model 1, plus same-day on-demand service. As you're aware, the RTC has been piloting same-day on-demand service through our partnership with Lyft and Tango Car. This pilot was introduced to our community back in February of 2018 in anticipation of including it in this model. The successful proposer will have the ability to collaborate with the private sector to continue to offer this exceptional service our customers have come to rely on. And as noted in the industry review of the draft RFP, Model 3 was developed for proposers to offer an alternate service model containing any proven service enhancements or innovations. Some of the solicitation process will also evaluate proposals based on the following technical criteria. So as you can see on the screen, it's management structure and key personnel, startup plan and operational innovation, staffing and personnel, employee training, vehicle and equipment maintenance, and safety and security management. For the companies that successfully qualify in Step 1 and move on to Step 2, the process allows for further evaluation to include innovative solutions, their community partner approach, and on-site interviews. Once the most qualified proposers move on to the 2nd step of the evaluation process, price can be a more significant factor. The Nelson Nygaard industry review I mentioned to you earlier showed the transit agencies surveyed all weighed the technical criteria more heavily than price. Based on 100%, the range for technical criteria was a low of 60% and a high of 80%, for an average being 67.5%. In all cases, the balance to reach 100% was price. Staff recommends the board consider a 60-40 approach with regard to Step 2, so 60% technical and 40% price. As for past transit solicitations, the evaluation team will be made up of RTC cross-functional staff and external partners. From the industry RFP review, we also learned the maximum contract term found in any of the RFPs, including extensions, is 10 years, with the maximum average duration being 7.8 years. The recommendation is a proposed contract term of 7 years, which includes 5 years plus 2 one-year renewal options. Today, we're asking for your approval of the proposed contract duration and the evaluation criteria set forth for both Step 1 and Step 2. Following board approval of the proposed procurement considerations, we will issue our RFP later this month, bring back to the RTC Board approval of recommendation and contract in September 2019 with the transition period and notice to proceed beginning September 2019 to January 2020, and contract commencement to begin the first week in January 2020. And I'm available if you have questions.
Comments or questions from the board? Commissioner.
In terms of the performance standards, what are the kinds of things that the successful proposer must meet on a regular basis?
Well,
Are there response times, for instance, or that sort of thing a part of it?
So they're required, well, first and foremost, they're required to follow all of the ADA regulations that surround this type of service in terms of the appointment times, pick up and drop off the windows, on-time performance, certainly don't miss a pickup. So the maintenance of our vehicles, the PM cycle of the vehicles. So it really is from the point of RT staff, we take the reservation, and then the contractor does the scheduling. So from that point of starting to schedule those daily trips to picking up, dropping off, ensuring the vehicles are ready to go, the lifts work, all of that is all that data we look at daily, and they're required. There are specific requirements in terms of on-time performance.
And the liquidated damages issue, the liquidated damages would be incurred if you failed.
That's correct.
So how have we modified that so that they're...
I'll give you an example. We heard from the industry that we were going to assess liquidated damages for untimely reports, edit reports, which make our auditing process a little delayed, which delays our invoice. Basically, if the contractor is late, we keep their money, which is not a bad thing. So we thought, well, why would we assess them liquidated damages? Because they haven't put the data together in order to get paid timely. So it really doesn't do anything for the RTC, because it's no harm, no foul. We just pay them later if they're later. So we were going to assess liquidated damages based on their being late in being paid, which, if you think about it, doesn't really make sense because it only hurts the contractor. So it was almost sort of a double ding.
So it had nothing to do with imposing liquidated damages if they fail to show up on time, if they miss appointments, that sort of thing.
So they can, if they miss a trip, if they show up late, there absolutely is a standard. So if they fall below 92%, then they can be assessed daily liquidated damages.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
A couple questions. When does the cone of silence take effect?
So if the board approves, we'll issue March 28th, and that's when the cone of silence would begin, is March 28th.
Okay, for our newest board members, from March 28th through the posting of the agenda item in September, anyone that has entered the process is not allowed to talk directly or indirectly to board members. Correct? Thank you. And the evaluation team, what will be the makeup? Not so much names, but backgrounds.
The plan is to have 5 RTC cross-functional staff and 2 external partners.
Okay. And one question on the innovation. I could see this becoming a, if not difficult, a challenging evaluation component. If someone is going to add on the Model 3 on an alternative proposal, and that could be part of combining with other models, correct?
Correct.
If we can clearly define that, so someone is not going to be either bonused or something taken away for innovation or an additional proposal. I see that being a real gray area as far as the evaluation team. So I just emphasize to the evaluation committee that on the front end before the applications start coming in, that they have that conversation on how they see that mix would fall into any kind of rating system. Any other comments or questions? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
A motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 48 can be pulled. We do not need to have a closed-door session, which brings us to our final citizens participation period, which is item 49.
Thank you. This is the second time set aside for public comment. Those wishing to speak to the board, Alida Dupree. State your name for the record, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes.
Chair Brown, members of the board, Alida Dupree for the record. Again, thank you. So I did finally get to ride one of the new 18,000 series buses. It was good, like the blue seats with the dots. I hope we can get all 40 of them real soon and retire the double-deckers from the North Yard. I'm going to talk about some different things today. I watched a county commission meeting on live stream and happened to find out there was a conversation about shared scooters. And I'm tying this into bikes and bike share. I hope to try out the electric bikes. I bought a pass through the app. So I'll look at the app and hopefully be able to chase one down and try it before the 18th. I think we should do this and have electric bikes because they can be very helpful for people with various challenges. So I hope that that will be a permanent part of the program and more than just 5 of them in the fleet of 180. And regarding scooters, I think it's important we have a conversation. I think that this agency is most equipped for the common sense regulation of dockless scooters and bicycles. I have actually used the dockless scooters in Los Angeles. I have several apps and 4 different accounts. And I do wear a helmet and I obey all pertinent vehicle traffic laws of the jurisdiction that I have operated in. So for those who have never met a scooter rider, you just have. And so those of us who ride scooters, we're generally good people who we're good for eating lunch with and enjoying non-alcoholic beverages. And so I think it's important to have this conversation toward a common sense regulation of a county-wide program of dockless scooters and bikes that excludes the Strip and Fremont Street and various other congested areas, parks, trails, places where bikes and scooters would not be. We have to start to move in the direction of other large cities like LA. This can be an opportunity to gain some appropriate taxation for this agency, that we can fund the various programs that we do to help people like myself get around. As I'm going to get on a bus and use this app, let's work on a uniform fare policy and put single ride tickets on the app in the hope we will eliminate paper tickets from this agency. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Stephanie Versnick. I started coming to this RTC Commission meetings back in November of 2017. Speaking on behalf of my son, for the 16th time, I'm asking this commission to restore the service area to the way it was in 2011. I continue to come to these commission meetings every month with the same message. Does this commission hear my message? I continue to ask the same questions and never get any answers. My prior testimonies are all on record. If you go back and read them, you will see my previous testimonies all have been the same questions, comments, and message. Expand the service area to the way it was back in 2011. What is this commission doing with the information from the peer review study that was presented in October of 2018, a study that we waited 6 months to get completed? And a comment that I always say is this commission is not meeting the needs of this community. I am still waiting on answers. As a member of this community, I feel I deserve the respect and consideration of this commission to provide me with answers. I have not been given any options. I will continue to come each month and voice the same message. As a mom, my goal has always been to have my son be as independent as possible. This is what all parents want for their children. My son is independent. He has a federal job. He takes care of his self-care needs. I am very proud of him. The odds were against him when he was diagnosed with autism. He has worked very hard to get where he is, and he continues to work hard on a daily basis. Transportation is the barrier that is keeping him from being an independent adult. Nevada is his home, and this is his community. He's not going anywhere, neither am I. He deserves to have access to transportation. Additionally, I'd like to comment on an issue that was brought up in the meeting that it's interesting to me how we can do a pilot program requested by our tourists, and yet we cannot expand the service area to meet the needs of this community. In closing, the Americans with Disabilities Act was designed to protect the rights of people with disabilities, to give them access to transportation. Again, I'm asking this commission to restore the service area to the way it was in 2011, 8 years ago.
Thank you for your comments. Robin Kincaid.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Robin Kincaid, and I have shared with the board in the past how the service area restrictions have affected my daughter, Kayla Kincaid's access to like her church, her friends, and potential employment opportunities. Once again, I stand before you to pose questions, requesting answers, to give you input, to give you, our story. And as Mrs. Versnick just indicated, every month we're going to continue to want to try to address this issue. Since 2010, the Las Vegas urban area has seen these double-digit increase in population for persons over 65 and persons with disabilities. We've seen significant growth in housing by adding new senior developments, new assisted living units, along with new residential communities. None of these areas are ever going to see a fixed route in their area, which is going to actually result in paratransit services, because there isn't a formula, there isn't a plan to actually serve an expanded community. Recently, the RTC has solicited comments about Maryland Parkway. We need to solicit comments from the many eligible customers and consumers that cannot get transportation services where they are living today. The RTC website indicates that there's a process to evaluate the service annually for expansions. But when was the last time this evaluation for expansion was conducted? And when will the public see this evaluation? There are some Las Vegas constituents who have been waiting for over 20 years for transportation services. Once again, I'm asking you to either expand the fixed route area or restore the service area to the pre-2011 size so that transportation dollars are spent in an equitable manner to meet the needs of all your constituents. Persons with disabilities like my daughter Kayla are looking for equity in how dollars are spent in transportation. Why we can spend unlimited resources in trying to provide free transportation to the many visitors that visit the Las Vegas area, but we can't provide services to seniors over 55 or persons with disabilities that are limited and where they can go in this community. They're never going to be able to demonstrate the need for that fixed route. It also means they can't necessarily go outside a service area if they live in the service area. I think that piece is something that is always lost in the conversation. In the February public comment, I discussed with the Commission the April 2008 the Federal Transit Administration for ADA paratransit compliance review and the multiple findings that were noted by the FTA. I requested an update, and I want to thank Dan. I'm not sure where Dan is, but he sent me some information about that, and I really appreciate that. But a lot of the information that I received really talks about that the RTC is just asking to close the findings, just close the issue. And our concern is that when these issues come up and these findings occur, is that we need to address them so we can find a path to improve areas in eligibility determination, excessive trip lengths, and suspension policies. I'm hoping that the commissioners are also seeing the same information that was sent to me, the latest letter that was published in December. I look forward to the commission finding ways to expand the service area and to meet the needs of a growing population that include our most vulnerable citizens. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board? Seeing and hearing.
My apologies, Commissioner.
Not at all. You were hiding back behind that wall.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner, Mayor, and members of the Commission. For the record, Raymond Fletcher. 3 things I want to speak to you about today is your Ride Tracker app, bus shelters, and advocacy. I would have been here last month, but due to the rain, the lack of bus shelter that I needed, by the time I got to the bus stop, I was soaking wet. I already had a shower. But the previous month in January, I was going to my cousin's to celebrate my 42nd birthday. Found out then that I wasn't supposed to be here longer than 2 months, yet here I am 42 years later. So as I'm sitting out there connecting one service to another, the buses missed, traffic and whatnot. And there was an accident the way I was traveling. And I noticed the bus wasn't going on route, it was turning. Yet Ride Tracker didn't indicate that there was a change. And you may want to look at seeing what you can do, because I sat out there for 52 minutes before I was able to talk to somebody and find out that there was a detour and I needed to get to another bus shelter. Additionally, it was cold that evening. So you got someone sitting in a wheelchair in the cold, 52 minutes, and you got other passengers that potentially were not serviced because the coach was on detour. That's the first thing. Bus shelters, I already talked about, being in the rain. And I saw how you're looking at putting the bollards up and whatnot. I would sincerely urge you to do an ADA assessment of your bus stops. I cannot tell you the number of bus stops that I have found that are in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So you really should get onto that. You don't want to have a situation. And lastly, as I said, only supposed to be here for 2 months. Here I am 42 years later. I don't come up here and pretend to speak for anybody. Nobody elected me to do that. I am only one of 20 individuals in the entire world with my disability. More people are in this room that exist than with my disability. I'm not going to sit here. I moved from across the country, Mayor, as you know. I moved from Indiana here to Vegas. We lost our buses. The house I moved into fell through, and I had to find another place. So I got here on a Friday. I got a new house on a Monday. Point is, I looked in my community where I was moving to, and I found houses around accessible routes. That's something I need to do as a disabled person, keep in mind my needs as I look for different places. As you all know, I did serve on my regional transit authority, and I served on the finance committee as well. And I understand the decisions that you have to make. Okay, you can't force something when you make reductions by law. You cannot do that. You cannot operate out of a service area by law. You cannot do that. So when people come up here and say, I'm speaking on behalf of people with disabilities, they're not speaking for me. They are not speaking for me. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board? Seeing and hearing no one, will close this portion of public comment. Thank you all. This meeting is adjourned.